There's 3 KFC horror stories animated. I can tell you there's more than one KFC horror story after working there for a bit.
I used to work in a KFC a few years back.
Yep.
Later, I went back to my hometown, which is why I left the job. But this is not the only reason why I got fed up with the job. Common dine-outs like this often see customers of all kinds.
Yep, that's true.
This one-time experience kind of terrorized me for life. I worked at the counter as a cashier, so I had to deal with the customers directly. One night, I was sitting behind the counter and counting the cash at the end of the day when I heard the entrance door fly open. 2 boys came inside. One had red hair and a pale complexion, while the other had a bun tied with dirty long hairs dangling from his oily head. They were about 15 or 16 years old. Both of them had a very unclean presence. Their clothes seemed like they hadn't been washed in a long time.
That's not good.
I could see dirt in their fingernails. A bad odor took over as soon as they approached the counter. "A bucket of fried chicken, please," the red-haired boy said in a cold voice.
A bucket of fried chicken was there. That's a giant feast.
While raising a $20 note at me.
The
boy with the bun wore a dirty sweatshirt, even on that hot summer night. As they stood there like 2 fishy customers that I would never want to meet at the end of my late-night shift, I realized troubles are waiting for me. I told them to take a seat and went inside to tell Ralph about our last order. Ralph was the night cook.
That's not how the kitchen works. The kitchen's just at the back. You put even if you needed the chicken, there's like warmers. You don't have to make it fresh. There's just warmers where you can get it from. That's not how the KFC chicken fryer works.
Who joined recently. While giving him the orders, I told him how sketchy those boys looked to me. Ralph laughed and said, "I'm sure they won't be any petty thieves."
That's not how the kitchen works. You don't make them fresh. You say, "Oh, can we put on like 60 pieces of chicken or 100 pieces of chicken?" Then you stockpile them. You don't put them on like that. That's not how KFC works.
Our cook will bring the food soon.
That's not how KFC works.
You guys are our last customers.
It's not like a restaurant. No, KFC, like, you got stockpiles of chicken. It's not. You don't have to cook it every day. It's not like a restaurant. No.
For the night. Hence, it's taking time to arrange everything before closing the shop. Someone purposefully turned off the power switch.
The power switch is not outside. It is inside. It's past the back door. The back door leads into an airlock, and then there's another back door. It is in there, so you cannot reach it.
My pockets and took out my phone.
And also, there's an alarm that goes off every time you open the back door. So, yeah, this isn't really accurate.
And as it hit the floor, I saw what I just stepped in. There was a pool of blood on the kitchen floor that came from a deep stab wound on the body of our night cook, Ralph. Oh my God. I turned around to leave when I got face to face with Jackson. He stood there with a blood-soaked knife in his hand and smiled at me. I remembered there's a back door, so I turned around to escape from there. I was a few inches away from the back door when Liam entered the kitchen. So this is what he did when he went outside. My God. He entered the kitchen from the back door and stabbed poor Ralph to death. Yep. These young boys are cold-blooded criminals.
That's also not how the back door works.
They cornered me.
It can only be opened from the inside.
And I knew now it would be my turn to get slashed at their hands. We don't want to murder a poor, weak woman. It doesn't work.
But you just murdered a poor, weak man. It's a bit of sexism, guys.
Anyway, we just want the money from the cash register.
You could have just walked up, pointed the knife, and said, "Oh, you give me the money. Just give me the money."
Turn off the security camera. I know you can do that from your computer. Do it! Now! I could have easily faked that and let their entire act get recorded by the camera. But I actually did turn it off. Because my plan was something more sinister. Jesus. I opened the cash register and loaded the money inside a bag. As Jackson came close to take the bag from me, I grabbed his head and slammed hard on the desk. The sudden strike hit him so hard that he didn't even get the chance to scream. Half of his face got smashed as flesh and blood poured out of his wounds. I took my phone from his hand and didn't call 911 yet. I threw chili flakes on his face.
Where did she get the chili flakes? Where did she... Did they just appear in her hand? Okay, so... Listen to this. As me, having worked in KFC before, the only place you can find chili flakes is in the kitchen, right? In the kitchen. In like a cupboard. which is like a bag of chili flakes that you use to make the zingers. That is the only place you find chili flakes. They are nowhere else but there, because all they're used for is zingers and wicked wings.
I stabbed them both to death. I closed the store, cleaned all the mess, and wrapped their bodies in garbage bags. There's an incinerator in the basement to burn the waste.
There is not an incinerator in the basement. We just chuck it in the bins out the back door, and that's it. That's the day. Why would you need an incinerator in KFC? Exactly. I used to get paid $9 an hour. You just give them the money. You don't have to commit a full-on double homicide. Just give them the money, which is usually only about $200 or $300 most, and then just let them go. KFC literally teach you, hey, if you get robbed, just give them the money. We've got a lot of backup money. We're like $1 trillion franchise, and 2, we value life over money. So just like give them the money.
I used to work part-time at a KFC.
Oh my god! Finally, an accurate KFC. They've actually got the kitchen where you can see everything. I mean, no one has pots. You don't use pots at KFC, but a semi-accurate kitchen.
I was able to take home any leftovers.
1, you can't do that. They all have an expiration time of 4 hours, so you usually can't take home stuff, but sometimes you can. No, it's a bit rigid. And 2, they've actually got accurate trays. Whoa!
But I noticed something strange when I took the first bite. Now, I've eaten KFC's fried chicken more times than I care to remember since I started working for them. I knew the taste of KFC like the back of my hand, whether I liked it or not. And this was not what normal KFC chicken tasted like. One of my coworkers, let's call him Jerry, chatted with me about the strange tasting chicken as we were working the fryers to make more of the stuff. Hey Sally, is it just me, or did the chicken last night taste a little off to you? I know what you mean. I couldn't bring myself to finish it. Was the spice expired or something? No, I checked the expiration date on the new spices that came in last night. They probably changed the formula without telling anyone to save on costs.
That's possible.
I see. It probably doesn't taste all too different to people who don't eat it every day like we do.
Oh my god. Just cooked them, then it ended up being the meat in this story. Oh, we've found the plot. Oh my god. KFC Cinematic
3
Universe.
whole pieces of fried chicken. 1 chicken bucket meal, please. I'm sorry, sir, but we're out of chicken for the night.
That's not how that works. You're never out of chicken for the night. There's usually a stockpile of at least 3 days in the fridge. So the worst thing that'll happen, you'll say, oh sorry, we don't have any chicken for the next 30 minutes. That's the worst that'll happen.
Shut eyes widened in surprise, and his lips curled into an angry snarl. You're out of chicken? Out of chicken?
Oh my god, you're out of chicken? You're out of chicken? You're out of chicken? You're out of chicken! Oh my.
You can't do this to us. You can't be out. I need it now. The man shouting started gaining the attention of the other regulars.
Oh my god.
But instead of being annoyed, they seemed to be just as concerned as he was about the lack of chicken. The ones who were still eating held their buckets of chicken close, while those who were nearly finished with theirs eyed them with hungry eyes.
What is happening?
The next few minutes went by in a flash. The regular who'd been talking to me saw a woman with a nearly full bucket of chicken and lunged at it to grab a drumstick. The moment his hand got near the bucket, the woman grabbed him by the wrist and chomped down on his fingers with unnatural force that severed them clean at the joint. There was a scream from the man, followed by several more from the other customers as they scratched and bit at one another like wild dogs to steal each other's chicken. I retreated back into the kitchen with the other employees, and we called the police. Our manager told us that he'll go outside to wait for the police there and left the restaurant through the back door. When the police finally came, the entire place was filled with crazed customers, fighting each other over the fried chicken, which they eagerly ate from the floor. The police had to tase the ones still standing to arrest them, though many of them had to be taken away in an ambulance instead. When I asked the police where the manager who went outside to wait for them was, they looked at me in confusion. They didn't see anyone outside when they got there. The KFC was closed for the next few days.
Oh my god, the manager died.
Jerry and I both told the police about how the customers started acting strange ever since the chicken recipe changed. When they analyzed the spice mix we'd been using for the chicken, it tested positive for a highly addictive and very illegal drug. The same kind that was found in the system of every customer who was arrested the night all hell broke loose. Police theorized that the manager must have been putting addictive drugs in the chicken in an attempt to boost sales. It worked, but at the cost of the customer's physical and mental health.
This is absolutely stupid. Alright.
This incident happened over 5 years ago, and I have held on to it throughout all these years. But no matter how much I try, I just can't sleep right. And maybe, just maybe, telling this will remove the huge weight that has been weighing down on my conscience all these years. There was a lovely chubby kid called Timmy who always used to come to the restaurant. He would stay there all day. My mom and dad are always fighting. They really don't care about me.
My mom and dad are always fighting, and I drown my sorrows through relentless amounts of KFC. Man, what a quote.
So anytime they give me money to eat, I always come here so that I don't have to see them fight. I took a liking to the kid because I sympathized with him. So after my shift, I would always keep him company.
What a nice guy.
Most times, I would sit with him as he ate. One particular thing I remember about the young boy Timmy was that he would always vigorously lick his fingers after eating his food.
What?
I would always chuckle about it because it always reminded me of the...
What, does he hit the... KFC. Bro, that's so weird.
KFC slogan. It's finger licking good. So anytime I served him, I always said, "It's so good, you'll lick your fingers." So I went out for a minute to throw out the trash. And when I came back,
trash room in the store.
Neither Timmy nor the man was there.
Oh.
I was sure no one left, as I didn't see anyone leave through the front door.
Bit weird.
I became scared, and that's when I began to hear sounds coming from the kitchen. I waited for a few minutes before I decided to go check it out.
Works, yes.
As I finally reached the kitchen, I saw the weird man manning the grill while whistling.
That's not how there is no grill in KFC.
Asking,
what is he talking about?
What are you doing here? Where's the cook? The hooded man then replied to me in his usual low voice with, "His shift is over, so it's my turn." I remember being shocked for a minute as he said it with all confidence, as if he was sure of what he was saying. I then quickly said, "I'm sorry, man, but you don't work here and customers aren't allowed back here, so you have to leave."
KGC.
The hooded man just ignored me and continued cooking. I was perplexed as I didn't know what to do. I contemplated forcefully dragging him out of the kitchen, but seeing as he was a huge, unpredictable man, I decided not to.
Why is he? It's also like fried chicken, not grilled chicken.
I noticed him bring out a jar from his pocket and begin to slowly add what I assumed.
This is, oh my god, okay, I figured out the cinematic universe. The first one, the girl, she did put human meat in there. Yeah, he's the manager, this is the manager. You know, she did put human meat in there, and that's why they were also addictive combined with the drugs. And then since the manager was the boyfriend of the girl that killed the guys. Yeah, so the manager wanted to take vengeance because they found out about the girl. So he took vengeance by putting the drugs in the KFC so the KFC would get sued. But he got sued, and now he's taking his revenge again because he got found out and put in jail. So he's doing it again. KFC Cinematic Universe.
I realized that he was slowly dropping bloody human fingers into the fryer.
What?
It took me a moment to process what I was seeing as I slowly began to back away to call the police. And that's when I tripped on something. I quickly looked at what had tripped me, and lying across the floor was young Timmy's corpse.
Not Timmy.
His hands had been mutilated, as all his fingers had been cut off. "Thank God you're here. Please, get help. This man killed this child." And that's when my manager put his hands to his lips and told me to keep quiet. "Shh.
Let's be able to teleport.
You don't want to alert anyone. Now do you, Noah?" he said. He then calmly walked to the hooded man and said, "Mr. Cornelius here is just our night chef." That's when the man removed his hoodie, and I saw his face. He had scarrings all over as he looked like a messed up
What a
butcher.
plot twist.
He was just doing the needful. I was speechless and confused at the same time.
Plot twist.
But I remember stuttering out, "Are you feeding our customers human fingers?" That's when my manager replied to me with, "Gods, no. You see, Noah, the way fine wine adds a divine taste to dishes is the same way seasoned human fingers add to the taste of chicken." I was still frozen in place and confused. He then continued with, "It's simple. To get that finger-licking good taste, we need good seasoned human fingers, as it changes the taste entirely. It's like that special spice. Believe me, you won't understand till you've tried a fresh one from the batch. The cook then offered me a wing to taste. I was still frozen, contemplating whether to scream and run, and that's when my manager said, "These are the new responsibilities that come with being a manager."
God.
I was once in your position, Mr. Noah, and I had to
KFC
choose.
cinematic
And remember,
got deep.
you were the one who said you were ready for it. I don't know why, but there was this sick voice at the back of my head that told me
This
to
is
do
the
it.
stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Maybe it was my selfish human wants, as I really wanted to be the manager. I had subconsciously waited so long for the position, and if keeping one little messed up secret was the price to get what I wanted, so be it. So I did it. I remember taking the wing and eating it, and I realized that everything they said was true, as it had a beautiful sweet taste to it, something I hadn't tasted before. I went on to be the manager of that branch for 5 years, and in that time, I ignored all the missing people posters that were popping up, as I knew what had happened to each and every one of them. Even after all this time, I thought I had silenced my conscience, but I still see Timmy's face every night.
He's just eating Timmy's fingers, yep.
I'm not telling this story for forgiveness, neither am I telling it out of remorse. I'm doing it because I hope telling this story gives me the peace I so desperately need.
Alright, we're ready for the next KFC Cinematic Universe lore. Let's go. Do you see this? They are in a KFC and are eating it off a plate. What?
Anyways, my parents and I were just minding our business in the dining room of the KFC, chewing on regrettable numbers of questionable pieces of fried chicken in complete silence.
That sounds about right.
My dad had just excused himself to the restroom after I tried to break the ice by asking what him and my mom would do after I left home.
Oh.
That's when this man barged in. A man that looked
It's Colonel Sanders back from the dead!
exactly like the Colonel of Kentucky Fried fame. But it couldn't be him. The real Colonel was long dead.
Yep.
Everyone in the building, the customers and the employees, all turned their heads at this guy. Well, a mighty fine Friday afternoon to y'all. I'm Colonel Sanders. Right as he started speaking, I think the majority of us dropped our guard. By that point, everyone had seen the new commercials for KFC with that weird-looking spokesman/character person. And this guy nailed the act. It seemed obvious that this was some sort of corporate PR stunt, complete with an actor for the mascot and a room full of real, unwilling customers. For the most part, though, people just shrugged and went back to eating idly as the Colonel continued. I care indubitably for the quality of my establishments, which is why I'll be performing a full top-down inspection of this franchise today for all of you wonderful folks. Yes, managers, go check for a special message on your computers. The employees seemed to believe the guy too, at least for the moment, so the rest of us went along with it. I was just hoping we weren't being filmed by some hidden
Alright, so after Daniel's mischievous acts, Colonel Sanders realized how bad his company was and now he's trying to revert it all. Colonel Sanders is simply just redoing the acts of Daniel, trying to redeem him. Alright, I see how this fits into the lore, don't...
Tell me, is it finger-licking good? Most of the responses...
Oh my god! I figured it out, guys. I figured it out. This is Colonel Sanders. But Daniel is his brother. Daniel is Daniel Sanders. And after what happened with Daniel, this guy, Colonel Sanders, is trying to do the same thing. He's trying to... oh my god. Alright, we've got some... oh my god.
He started licking his own fingers. Slowly, people started to become a little more aware of him. The scene was weird as he would stare directly into customers' eyes while doing this action. I just hoped that he wouldn't visit our table. With that being said, he scurried over to us as though he could read my mind. Well, how nice to see a young man repay his mother with a nice dinner. What? He spoke to both of us, but he only looked at me. And by that I mean, he didn't blink, twitch, or glance away even a little bit. You're a fine young man, ain't you, boy? I started trembling. Tell me now, boy, is it finger-licking good? He kept leaning in towards me with his mouth hanging open, staring at my fingers, like he himself was about to lick the crumbs off of them to prove it. That's when my dad finally got off the toilet and came back to his family. He shouted,
Hey, weirdo!
He then yanked that wacko away from me faster than I could even react. The colonel tumbled to the greasy floor of the dining room.
You trying to propose to my son, punk? Get out of here before I make you wish I was a cop.
Whoever that guy was, he wasn't official KFC staff, but he was definitely a wimp. He didn't put up any sort of fight after my dad threw him.
What?
He just rushed to his feet, laughed at us for a moment, then ran out the door.
Come on, Margaret. We're getting out of here.
Reports say he disguised himself as the mascot to get into close proximity with customers to harass them. He then took it a step further by grabbing their greasy fingers and biting them off. He would flee the scene immediately after and hit up at least 5 locations before getting caught by the police. Several people were missing fingers from that one spree. I was stunned to think just how close I'd gotten to becoming an unfortunate victim of that weirdo's hunt for greasy fingers.
Oh my god.
And to this day, I get queasy whenever I see fried chicken.
We need part 2. Part 3. This is getting deep, guys. This is getting deep. Oh my god, I've never been more intrigued in KFC lore in my life. Wait, what? That was a good entry into the lore. I feel that really set up Daniel's story, and it introduced us to Gary, which was very crucial. Right. Yep. Yes. Being Daniel. Alright, cool. Perfect. Let's go. Watch the CSA's
Me lad, spare an old fella some change? Sir, I only make minimum wage.
Yeah,
If it wasn't for me, KFC wouldn't exist, kid. At least spare me some leftover chicken during your lunch break, okay? Get a job, old man. The first initial weeks of the job were swell,
sir.
but things took a sudden turn for the worst. We had started running low on chicken, and my boss began to point the finger at me. He assumed I had been taking home chicken after my shift was done, but I assured him it wasn't me.
That's not how it works.
Began
To run low on chicken, you'd have to cook the chicken first. So Dad is eating. Oh,
happening on multiple occasions where large batches of chicken suddenly started disappearing. You
don't store the chicken overnight, so you have to throw all the chicken out overnight, so it's impossible to not have it gone. Oh my god.
Where my boss began to threaten my job. I pleaded with my boss to investigate the day
It's
shift
J. Jonah
employees,
Jameson.
but it was impossible for them to be the culprits as he supervised them during that shift.
Stop eating my chicken, kid!
Sir, it's not me. I bring my own lunch.
Yeah, it's
Unveiling
Gary!
the same colonel I had seen before, dousing
It's Gary,
his face
but he's
with fried
homeless
chicken.
now, because
My
Daniel
suspicions were
did something.
accurate. The reason for all the missing chicken stood there before me. How the hell did you get in here? Boy, I couldn't resist. Y'all make a big enough batch.
Also, they don't store cooked chicken. They throw out cooked chicken. What is this? This is so inaccurate. Oh my god.
To feed the whole town, might I say. It was you. You were the one that was eating our chicken the whole time. How could I not? It's so finger-licking good. I slammed the door shut, making sure to lock it so I didn't have to get physical with the colonel. He then started violently punching the door with his bare fists as I stood back in awe, not knowing whether I should call the cops or run the hell out of there.
Open the door, or I'm gonna show you a new meaning to finger-licking good, kid.
What does that mean?
Call the cops.
What
I
does this
sprinted
mean?
towards the front counter while arming myself with a knife from the kitchen. I began dialing 911 while trying to explain to the operator the bizarre situation I was in. After a long 10 to 15 strenuous minutes, the police finally showed face.
Yep.
I began directing them to the stockroom where I had initially trapped the man. A group of armed policemen rammed their way through the door only to see no sign of the colonel. What we then discovered was that there was a panel on the ceiling that had been removed, thus allowing access for any culprit to enter and exit the building at their convenience.
No way.
After further investigation, it was later found out through parking lot surveillance cameras that the colonel had been sneaking through the KFC building every night through the same panel on the roof leading to the stockroom. He had been eating our chicken for God knows how long. What makes the story more discomforting was how he would casually jump across the roof and into the KFC bucket sign, just so he could crawl inside and sleep there every night. All I know is
they're not hollow, the buckets.
that man is mentally sick in the head
hollow
and needs to seek some kind of professional help.
Alright, wow, we've got full-on lore here. Okay, oh my god. Alright, let's go. One more.
I used to be friends with this guy who worked at KFC. His name was Jake. I knew him for years throughout school. When we got out, we ended up getting jobs at the same strip mall. I worked at the GameStop just across the parking lot from the KFC he worked at.
Yep, alright.
I could see the Colonel's sign out of the window all day long. So by the end of my shifts, I was usually craving some fried chicken.
Why is it on a plate?
Plus, it was always nice to stop by and talk to my friend Jake at the register. I'd never seen this guy before. For some reason, he looked out of place behind a fast food counter, like it was his first day or something. He stared at me awkwardly as I approached the register. To my surprise, however, his customer service was more friendly and hospitable than just about anyone I'd ever seen working minimum wage. Good evening, sir. How may I take your order?
Well, listen, don't judge a book by its cover, thank you.
Prestige
He
with
seems
Sense
very
IQ.
nice.
It senses and adapts.
Oh, Jake's on break, good sir, but I can help you. On break? It didn't make sense that Jake would wait until the end of his shift to take his only break.
Yeah, that doesn't make
I
sense
tried to
either.
discreetly look behind the guy at the counter and into the kitchen.
That's not where you take...
From what
Actually,
I
that
could
is where you
see,
take a break.
the kitchen was empty. There was nobody at work
Inaccurate
back
kitchen.
there.
I hate to see it.
No cleaning, no dishwashing going on. Not one sound or sight in the whole place except me and this weird guy. And he didn't even have a name tag.
Okay. Yeah, you don't need a name
Excuse me,
tag, KFC.
I don't mean to be that guy, but is your manager around? I am the manager, good sir. Yes, it's just me tonight, holding it down for the customers.
That's not how it works. There needs to be at least
Why do
3
you
people in the
ask?
KFC
Are you
team.
interested in becoming part of the KFC team? I felt a little bad for being rude to the guy, but I just felt so much more at ease when he finally walked away. It took him several minutes to come back with my order, even though no other customers came inside or through the drive-thru while I waited. Every one of those minutes was tense. All I wanted to do was get my fried chicken, go home, and play some video games with my friend, wherever
Leave
he
the man
was.
alone.
When, at last, I finally got my meal, I grabbed
Why
it
is
and
it in a
rushed out of
plastic
there,
bag?
paying no attention to the bone-chilling, ear-to-ear grin on that weird guy's face as he handed me the bucket.
He's
I
just saying
sped off in
goodbye.
my car and drove home in a rush to get away from him. I changed out of my work clothes in a flash, then got online and ready to game. While I waited for Jake to get on, I started to eat my dinner for the night. After a while, I started to slow down. Jake still hadn't got on, and I only had about 3 pieces of chicken left. That's
already
when I
know it's
noticed
Jake's
something strange
human
at the
meat.
bottom of the bucket. It was breaded like fried chicken, but it was too small to be that. It was a small rectangular thing. Out of curiosity, I fished it out of the
What is
bucket.
it?
As soon as I picked it up, all the breading crumbled away, revealing a small piece of white plastic with a pin glued onto it.
What?
Did that weird guy lose his name tag in the batter? But when I turned it over, the name printed on it was...
Jake!
The whole time I'd been waiting on him, he was wafting into my nose, getting ground between my teeth, and sliding down into my stomach.
I called it.
No, this can't be. I dropped the bucket onto the ground as I trembled at the thought. Was that really Jake? I couldn't believe it. I picked up my phone and called Jake, but there was no answer. I panicked. I quickly called his mom, only to find out that Jake had not come home that night. Tell me.
KFC. How? We need to figure it out. I need to put the new KFC law in. Part 5. I'm gonna call that the epilogue. Is there any more KFC? I believe we're out of KFC. Yep, we're out of KFC. Right. Epilogue. There's no more Okay, I'll make this part 5 then. Part 5. Part 5. Gary, knowing that he is going to die soon, has a child and teaches him the ways of KFC. This child, named Brent, this child named Brent starts work at his first KFC alongside his co-worker Jake. Was that his name? Can you vouch that his name was Jake, the guy that got killed? It was Jake, right? I believe so. Or was it like Jack or something? Yeah, Jake, alright. So it's co-worker Jake. Following in his father's footsteps, he murders, dismembers, and fries poor Jake, and then serves him to his friend. I meant to say Jake. Brent has succeeded, and Gary died happily, knowing that his teachings will live